Hi, and welcome to the Flex with Aaliyah. Today, I'm talking all about Beast Games episode 0, which took place in Vegas. And joining me today is two amazing people that I met during Beast Games that I'm still in contact with and have become friends with. And if you follow me on social media, you know my number is 287. So then we have Sam. Sam, what's your number?
483.
Woo! And then we have Micah, and your number?
I'm 497. Hi, Aaliyah.
Hey, thank you so much for joining me, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for calling us in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of know how I got the application. Someone sent it to me, and I was like, sure, why not? And then I just filled it out, didn't think anything of it, and totally forgot about it until I got an email. How'd you guys hear about it or end up applying?
So I saw it on Twitter actually. Mr. Beast Jimmy, he tweeted it out, like the application link. And I was like, oh, that'd be fun to do. But I had like just moved and I was like, no, never mind. I'm not going to do it. And then like a month went by and I was like thinking about it. And I was like, I wonder if it's still open. I should apply for just shits and giggles, see if I get it or not. And then I applied and I got a call like a few hours later. So Twitter is the answer, short answer.
Well, that's cool. I heard of other people having to wait weeks before getting an email or a phone call. That's pretty cool, Sam. You got what they need.
Yeah. I guess I needed people.
So I have a friend who applied, and I didn't really know him much at that time. I kind of just met him, Sifu, and he applied. And whenever he was like in contact with someone on the phone, they asked him if he knew anyone who he thought would be good for the show. And he gave him my number. So they actually contacted me and they're like, hey, you've been recommended. We think you should apply. And so I did, but it still took a while to hear back from them. So I'm like, why did I do this? They tricked me. But nope, ended up. And so did Sifu. So that was really cool.
That's cool though. They called you.
I don't even think I ever got a call. I just got an email that was like, hey, I don't even remember what it was because it was so long ago, but I got an email. And I remember when we all got together, people were talking about their phone calls, can you swim and this and that. I was like, I didn't get a phone call. Am I a loser? Am I a winner? I don't know.
Winner, Aaliyah, winner.
Yeah, so that was kind of like the first steps of how we got into Beast Games. And I'll admit, I didn't know who he was. I didn't follow him or anything like that. It kind of just fell in my lap. And I was like, let me do some investigating. Didn't think anything of it. And then lo and behold, we end up in Vegas. And I actually met Micah in line in Vegas, waiting to be bused to somewhere because we didn't know in our trash bags. And that's eventually I had met Sam shortly after that.
How did I forget about those trash bags? They were terrible.
Oh, the infamous trash bags.
Yeah, we got low style points for those and definitely caused a lot of attention.
Yeah, and if for people who don't know, it's like 100 plus degrees in Vegas, and trash bags make you sweat. So we're already sweating, and then put us in trash bags. Like I took that thing off, I could wring my shirt out. That's how like gross I was. And I was like, why are we doing this? Who thought of this?
And at that point, we had checked in our luggage and we didn't have our toiletry bags. So we didn't have deodorant. I just remember thinking, oh no, I already stink. And we have who knows how long to keep wearing this trash bag until we're allowed to take it off. But it was pretty funny when I met Aaliyah when we were in line at the hotel still, and there were hundreds of us in this never ending line, all wearing giant black trash bags. And a lot of the other people staying at the hotel who are not related to the Beast Games could not figure out what was going on and why. And some people were joking, like, is there a leak somewhere? Like, are we going to get rained on? Like, why are you covered up?
Yeah. I had a few people ask us, like, are y'all on a cult? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, kind of. I guess you could say that.
It's definitely kind of cool, especially people who were like follow him I would say that's definitely a cult.
A cult of children.
Yes, the cult of children who just fawn over him and know everything about him. Yeah. Because then, like, I think I was mentally prepared because someone told me, it was like, you know what? It's a show. There's going to be a lot of waiting. And I thought I was mentally prepared for it. And then it was so much more waiting than I thought because we got bused to kind of like a convention center before we even got to Allegiant Stadium, which is where the episode 0 took place in Vegas. We really bonded there where we did some stretching and some peeing in some cups, you know.
Aaliyah, I was wondering if you were going to mention that, so I'm so glad you did. And that's where I met y'all the first time. You were leading a stretch circle, Aaliyah, and I was like, well, I haven't stretched in like 7 years, so let me go over there real quick. And I got my stretches in, and then, yeah, we were in there for hours and hours. And then, yeah, that's when I met y'all for the first time, was in that room. And then, yeah, we bonded, and we had to take like bathroom lines, but the lines were taking forever. So Leah's like, well, I'm in this trash bag. Let me just pee in this cup.
That is true. There was a little bit of, you know, discretion because the trash bag was so long. I did need 2 cups because I was very hydrated. And it was just a circle of us like, can we do this? Can she do this? We will make it happen. Definitely a production. Thank God there were no cameras in there. Although it was, I would say I did it pretty delicately, you know, not making a scene.
You were sly. You were sly.
So that's why we're really bonded together over that moment. And when you gotta go, you gotta go. And we were very limited with our freedom at that point. So
just me and Micah cracking up.
And that was when Sam and I fell in love with Aaliyah.
And the funny thing about that, not me peeing in a cup because that's funny, but we were together so much in that convention center. And then after that, when we got to Allegiant Stadium, they did all the legal stuff. We didn't see each other for a long time. And some people will remember this time when you didn't have phones and you just waited for people. And we'll meet here at this time, at this place. We didn't even know where we were or what we were doing. So in a sea of 2,000 people, trying to find one person, be like, I know what they look like. We're all wearing the exact same thing. How am I going to find them?
You don't. It was a whole new world, it felt like, because not only did we not have phones or our luggage or anything at all, there weren't even clocks. And so you don't know what time it is ever. And Allegiant, we could tell when the sun was up and we could tell when the sun was down, but that's pretty much it. We didn't know as it was rising or when it was falling. It was either there is some daylight coming through the ceiling or there's not. And so, yeah, like you can't meet up with anyone. You can't text and be like, hey, meet me by the bathrooms, or where are you sleeping, or where's your sleeping bag, or anything like that. You just you're just lost children wandering around the stadium.
Being like, I hope I see someone I know. And then like you'll get a group. Like that's what I pretty much did is like because I lost y'all because we were like separate groups, and I ended up just finding a different group, and I just kind of like stuck with them the whole time because I was like, well, at least I'll know them, right? And then like I'd wander around to like go mingle and talk to other people because I'm a little social butterfly. And I saw y'all a couple times, but we never like met back up because it was so hard. Like we said, it was so hard. If we weren't filming, we were eating or sleeping, or we were, I don't know what the hell y'all were doing, but I was just trying to like wander around, just try to entertain myself while we were waiting hours and hours in the stadium.
Yeah, and if anyone has watched episode 0 yet, it was 24 minutes long. It was filmed over the course of 4 days. And how much they condensed in, we were like, I thought it was going to be a lot longer or have more content in it. But what you see and how they put it together, it's crazy how long it actually took, how much waiting there was. in giving us instructions and then waiting after instructions. And Mike had said that there was no clock. That's absolutely true. And we could tell when there was daylight and night, but the stadium lights were on all the time. So even when we slept, it was like it was daylight. We were given eye masks, and those, some people could totally sleep, some people couldn't. And that definitely really created some chaos, I think, with some people's mentality, because they got crazy, man.
I think one thing that threw me off is, I knew I fell asleep, but I don't know for how long. It was so bizarre because they gave you a sleeping bag and they told you when it's time to go to sleep. But like you said, those bright lights were on and you have no idea how long you actually slept. I could have slept for 8 hours or I could have slept for 8 minutes and I have no idea. And that also threw everything off. And there's no schedule. You don't know when you're going to eat again, which was almost never. And you don't know when the game is and you don't know how long you've been there. It's just this distorted reality with no concept of time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was rough. And then on top of that, like, not knowing how long you're sleeping, right? You're in a big stadium of 2,000 people. And so then people are getting up at different times. So I remember like the first morning after we slept, people were like waking up and I didn't know what time it was, but I was like, oh, we must have slept for hours because everyone's just up and about, like, going brushing their teeth, getting their meds. People are having team meetings and like, it was like 9 a.m. And they're like, y'all should be sleeping till 2 p.m. Like go back to sleep. Like literally they were like, go back to sleep. We're not doing anything. Your first meal isn't until like 2. So like go to sleep. And we were like, what? And I was like already so awake. And I was like, okay, let me force myself, put this mask back on, try to block all these people out talking around me and like go back to sleep. Luckily I did. And that was the best decision I made because I got like 4 extra hours and I was good to go.
I think I did the same thing. Like all the producers kind of knew the schedule. We didn't. We slept. And then whenever we woke up without any concept of how long we had slept for. So it's like naturally we're up and then we're getting hungry. And they said to us, well, we don't have food for you because we're anticipating you to sleep till this time, which how could we know? So then some of us try to go back to sleep. I know for me, my biggest issue the first day was I have contacts and there was, I would say, a miscommunication about our toiletry bags that we were supposed to bring with us and what ones we weren't. So they actually did have us submit them, but then there was an issue at the initial convention center to get them from our luggage because they never asked for it. Due to having contacts and glasses, I always needed to have them, so I couldn't put them aside early on like some people could do with their medicine. And that first night of torture where we were in line from like 9 a.m. and then we didn't even eat until probably, I think it was like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. the next day. I don't know, that's what it felt like. And I still had my eyeballs. They were like stuck to my eyes. And I went to medical to see if I was like, hey, do you have any contact cases? And then luckily they did. I was like, do you have any solution? And they gave me these like little individual packets of solution. And I took them out and I could put them in the contact case. Now just picture this. I need contacts to see. If you're probably 10 feet in front of me, I'm very familiar with you. I can kind of guess it's you. Now we're in Allegiant Stadium. There's 2,000 people. It's the middle of the night and I have to go to the bathroom. Like, I'm not putting my contacts back in. So I'm like, and I also have to remember where my sleeping bag is because everything looks the same when I'm coming back, and getting there wasn't too bad. And I'm like, okay, I can see where people are. So I'm not going to step on them, but coming back, I was like, I hope I remember where my sleeping bag is. And I tried to line it up with maybe a post or an obstacle so that way I could get back to it. That was probably the hardest part for me. And then putting them in my eyes being dry, so it like burned, and like how long are we going to be up for? That was my most stressful minus once we got into all the crazy stuff. That was my own personal issue. And I'll debunk any of the stupid stuff that's going on about how we were treated. Was it challenging and stressful? Yes. But were we treated like dog poo? No. We were given food. We were allowed to sleep. Was it a lot of food? No. Was it a lot of sleep? We don't really know.
I probably took 700 cat naps. Out. Just in the middle of line, I would just lay down. And it's weird. That kind of became the norm for those 3 or 4 days we were in the stadium. You could just be standing in a group of people talking, and then someone would lay down and take a nap. And it wasn't uncomfortable. I mean, it's just what you kind of did. If you felt like you could get some sleep, you just lay down where you are. There's no good place.
And I think even once the challenges got going, which we will eventually talk about, people, when they were waiting, they would just lay down and sleep. Because why not? You have the opportunity and the time. I didn't, because I thought I was going to get stepped on, and I felt fine being awake during that time. Just in case I missed something, I was like, I want to stay alert.
I was the same way. The couple times, no, that's so real. The couple times I did see Micah, you for sure were just like sleeping.
Yeah. Bored. Just out of boredom. It wasn't because I was tired. I was just so bored in the waiting game.
Yeah, that did happen. A lot of waiting around.
Yeah, something that really caught me off guard that has never happened to me in my life. I felt my social battery drain. And I'm a very social person. I can talk to anyone, anywhere we go, all day, every day. But whenever you're in a room with 2,000 strangers who are also friendly, I would say most everyone, if not everyone, were extroverts. And some people came with a spouse or a family member, but hardly anyone. Almost everyone was there alone, and you needed to make new friends. And so you make new friends and then they get out. Or you make new friends and then they disappear in the sea of blue jerseys and you just don't see them again. So you're constantly reintroducing yourself, hearing new people's names that you're going to forget, and just learning everyone's stories and then sharing yours, and plus lack of sleep and lack of food. And then you get to know people and then they just disappear and you don't know if they're out. You don't know if they're sleeping somewhere else. You don't know if you just don't know. And so that really, I think was probably the biggest, I was just, social battery was drained by the end of it.
I can see that. I'm social a lot of the time, but sometimes I'm not. And if I'm with people who need to have that bigger personality, I don't give two shits. I'm not fighting with you to have a personality and get my say in. I'm like, you want the spotlight? Go take it. And there were plenty of people like that. And they're probably not my cup of tea personally. Maybe it was the environment, because a lot of people did start putting on productions. For me, it was a little too much, and I think that's why I kind of shifted towards certain people, or just being by myself. But then you're staying by yourself, you're like, uh-oh, this is a social game. You must somehow make connections or friends, because that's part of it. But the hard thing was, like Micah said, it kept changing. They were gone. They weren't gone. Where did they go? Maybe they're sleeping somewhere else. Maybe they opted to just leave on their own like they could. And sometimes you were then pitted against each other instead of working together. And it was just such an interesting, crazy dynamic. And I know I saw one of the things that I observed was how competitive people got. I'm extremely competitive. But I feel like there's a fine line between being competitive and aggressive. And some people got a little bit too aggressive on a show like this. Whether they were trying to puff out their chest or peacock, I noticed it more from the guys. Not all the guys, but there was a personality type that you really saw that come out, and you're like, no, I don't want to deal with that. They wanted to take the lead. They wanted to give you directions, but they didn't want to hear what you had to say. That was a little bit annoying, actually.
Yeah, there was definitely at least I felt it, a sense in that room of just that competitive, like kind of toxic masculinity, just kind of like all around that room, no matter what color team you're on, which I'm sure we'll go in and talk about the color teams we're on. But yeah, it was kind of like everywhere. And I was like, y'all, like, this is a fun thing. Like, it's serious. Don't get me wrong. Like, we can make it serious, but like, it's supposed to be fun. Like, listen to people, just be yourself. Like Derry Dunn said, if you're going to act and put on a character, it's cringe. Like, we see right through it. Like, I saw right through it. I would just be laughing. Honestly, it was just like laughing at people at that point. I was just like, y'all, look at this person over there making a fool of themselves.
Yeah, a lot of people were. It was definitely weird just being out of your comfort zone. Not just like because we didn't eat, didn't have a clock, didn't get sleep, but also you just don't have that like security with knowing anyone around you, and no one knows you. And so I think a lot of people they were just trying to make a name for themselves, because I think in prior Mr. Beast videos, they would do the team captains. And I think a lot of people were trying to present themselves as someone who could be a team captain. But I agree with you, Sam. They did not go about it in the right way. Like, they're allowed. And at one point, I don't remember if I feel like it was maybe the pink team. They had two leaders. I use that term loosely. Two loud people on stage yelling at each other, like angrily, as they're trying to motivate and inspire. And then they're mad at each other, yelling at each other at the same time.
It was almost like, if you've ever read the book, like Lord of the Flies or Animal Farm, the social dynamic, people try to create order when there is no order. And you kind of saw that firsthand. So Micah and Sam talk about colors, which we haven't gotten into. We got randomly, not even randomly, but kind of random, selected, chosen, going into different groups based on a color. There was pink, orange, green, red, and yellow. And when that happened, at some point, people were trying to become leaders and develop who's going to do what. And when you didn't even have any information, so either that person was a natural leader, they just wanted to step up and try to organize the group. And you saw that in every single color, which was very interesting. I agree with, but I don't think it worked when people did it. And it was still so many people, because I think it was 400. Like, one person for 400 in this, and you don't know any of them, trying to believe this person is almost like politics, but not. Because you're like, I don't know what this person stands for, but they're trying to convince me right here in their 5-second speech, you know?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that the loudest person normally isn't like a leader. Like, leaders normally lead a lot of times with silence, and they lead by like listening to people around them. So I 100% went in going like, who's being the loudest? I don't trust you. And it actually kind of turned out that way. There's a couple people where I was like, oh, like, I clocked you from like the get-go. But I think we should also talk about the formulation of those teams, because do y'all remember how chaotic in Hunger Games that was?
Yes. It was ruthless.
Okay. It was ruthless. So for the people listening, like, they just brought out those different color pennies and just dropped them up at the front of the field, right? There's 2,000 of us, and they're like, here are some pennies. You need to get into your own teams. Like, go. And so then people are like rushing up at these color pennies, because we were already kind of in groups before. Like, we were in what group stuff? There was like 4 groups of us, A, B, C, D, when we ran out into the field at first. So we thought we're doing the challenge, us 4 groups. And so we're like, oh no, there's going to be like a 15. And I already kind of knew like that 15 is going to be the people that couldn't get a penny from like when they dropped it. So like people are rushing up at these pennies, like the cornucopia and Hunger Games, like trying to get the color they wanted. But then I don't know if y'all saw where I was on green team, there were these dudes who were just hoarding pennies and just passing them out to like other guys, other like people they thought were strong, like the tall people. And I luckily was able to just get one. But it was a nightmare. And I saw some people get like trampled trying to just get a penny, and then some people just couldn't give up. They're like, can I get a penny? And like people are just telling them, nope, sorry, it's for my friend. Nope, sorry, it's for this person. And I'm like, that's so fucked up.
I got lucky. I had no idea it was going to be chaotic like that, because we were kind of sort of in groups, like you said, and then they dropped the pennies. And I was with a girl named Elise, who was like my buddy that whole in Vegas. And I'm like, I'll save our spot. You go get the pennies. And she's like, okay. And we just kind of like la-di-da. And I really got lucky that she was able to get 2 pennies for me. I was on the orange team and we did pretty good in that challenge. And so I am so thankful that she grabbed that penny, an extra one for me.
I don't remember how it got set up, but we all created kind of 4 groups of 500 people. It was kind of like that. And a lot of us were looking at, there was a structure trying to figure out what it was. And we're like, there's a 5th one. There's a 5th one. What's that going to be? And they actually did have us get in lines of about a certain number. So there was already starting to be organization and divide, but it was only 4 groups. We were dividing ourselves into 4 groups. I don't know if it was based on instruction or we started to observe and develop that ourselves.
No, it was when we first got there. Remember, they sat us, and you were in section. There was A, B, C, and D, and they sat us in those sections.
And that's when we ate our first cold oatmeal.
Yeah, and they didn't tell us like stay in these groups or anything like that. We just did. We were all of a sudden instantly loyal to the letter taped on the wall next to the section we were sitting in.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah. And so that's kind of how we were. Sam, do you have this? I don't remember my letter, but were we the same letter? Because we did end up being green together, even though that didn't matter. But maybe, yeah.
I think so. I was C. Were you C?
I don't remember. But that makes sense. We were given 4 letters and then we're like, okay, these are the 4 divisions. And we're like, there's a 5th one. What is that? And they made us get in this long line. And then they had said that they were passing out these pennies. And initially there was like a box out front. And people were like, it's a puzzle. It's like Survivor. Who's going to be the captain of the puzzles? Who's going to be the captain of the questions? And we're like, we're not on Survivor. It's not going to be a puzzle. And that was the funniest part, is that it wasn't a puzzle. It was a box of pennies, you know. And then they opened them, and in our line, because we were all lined up, kind of, they're like, we're going to pass them back. Did it start like that for 10 seconds? Yes. But then you had people in the back who were rushing the front. And then now everybody's panicking that they're not going to get a penny or a color. Because I ended up going right up to the front then, because they were like throwing them and passing them out. And so I got handed one. I remember people were trying to pull it out of other people's hands. And I don't want to call them the reject team, but it ended up being that just because it was like the leftover people. It was like, you didn't get the penny. I guess you're going to be red.
Yeah, that's honestly what I saw, kind of like some ageism and like some sexism kind of come into play, because the majority of people on that team, on red team, that got out were older people and women.
I would agree with that. There were men on that, and I think some of it was just, this might be a stereotype, but I think a lot of the people who got the pennies were people who were going to have a more assertive personality to go get one, except for Michael, who was just like, la-di-da-di-da. But other people, like, I wasn't going to sit there and wait, be like, I'm going to get this. I went right to the front. And I think some of those people didn't take that initiative to go grab it, because they could have actually done the challenge well. When we haven't gotten to the challenge, but I think the reason they lost is because they viewed themselves as the leftovers, and they're like, well, shit, I guess we're going to lose. And their effort wasn't there. There was nothing that was happening on other teams. But yes, I do agree that the men were passing out to men, assuming that they were going to do well, which is just like a bias thing, because there's definitely women who are better than some of those men, you know, for sure.
Including both of y'all. You're strong. You're stronger than most. You're stronger than most of those dudes.
And then before we get talking about the challenges, because a lot of the hubbub was also about the food and our treatment. What do you guys think of that?
I have never enjoyed a boiled egg with salt so much as I did there.
Oh my gosh. I will say, I knew going in it wasn't going to be like, we're not getting great food, right? So, like, sleeping conditions and food is a way that you can weed out people very easily. And it worked. There were a lot of people that left because of sleeping conditions. There's a lot of people that left because of the food we were given. We're still giving calories to survive, right? It was like 900 to 1,000 calories a day, which for someone my height, like, that's perfect. I felt the worst for like these dudes who are like 6'4", and I'm like, oh, you need more calories than like 900 a day, but like, you're going to get what you get. But I will say, I am the adult that didn't get the vegetable adult eating gene. Like, I don't eat vegetables, but I ate every single vegetable while I was there. And because of the little calories we were getting and how much like exercise we were like kind of doing too, I lost like 15 pounds just from Vegas. I came back and I was like, wow, the beast diet. That's what I got to start doing.
I remember coming back and people were like, I'm going to stay in shape now because they're like, I've lost this weight from not eating. I'm like, trust me, you're going to gain back like that. But yeah, the food, I was so excited to eat because we hadn't eaten for so long. When we first got food, we had done so much waiting and legality stuff. And we actually got what they considered breakfast, but we were like, this isn't dinner, because it was what we were expecting was dinner. And it was the saddest oatmeal overnight weird fusion I would say it was like a normal soup size container, but there was only like a fourth of that container filled.
I like oatmeal, and I couldn't eat even a spoonful of that. It was like oatmeal that had never been put in under heat. So it was just cold water with a scoop of oats. I don't even know if there was anything other than oats in it. I just took one. It was like oat soup.
Yeah. And if you were lucky, there was a little bit of cinnamon in it.
Oh, cinnamon.
Yeah. If you were lucky, there was a little bit of cinnamon.
And that was served with a boiled egg, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that boiled egg so much.
And then like we had like a little like a 4-ounce container, and there was like a couple carrot sticks, some celery, and like a tomato. And I was like, I don't eat vegetables, but I'm going to now because I'm fucking hungry.
Yeah. And the vegetarians got fruit. I want a piece of fruit so bad. And they were like, no, you're not a vegetarian. I was like, but I want a piece. And, sometimes you befriend people. I met so many people who didn't want vegetables, and I was like, I will eat them because I like them, but you can have the gross tomatoes that I'm not going to eat. Or someone was like, I'm not going to eat the celery, but I'll give you the celery because I want my carrots. And like, sold.
Wait, Aaliyah, what did you pull out of your suitcase? Like a green pepper?
What?
A vegetable? I remember you just pulled out raw vegetables out of your suitcase.
It probably was a green pepper or a bag of celery. Yep. I like my veggies, Sam. I did get that gene. My mom thought I was going to be vegetarian. I like my meat too, but I love my veggies. So, yeah. I was so glad that I brought snacks with me, and I had put a couple in my pockets for when we were sitting, but then they obviously quickly went because we couldn't bring anything in. They made me throw out my water bottle when we went to Legion Stadium, and it was really, I have water bottles with me all the time, and it was just natural because we didn't have our bags. I couldn't put it anywhere, and then they wouldn't let me enter. They're like, you must throw it out. So I gave it a kiss goodbye and tossed it into the trash can. I was so sad. Yeah. And then the only water we got to drink was this can death water.
Liquid death.
I have a conspiracy theory about liquid death, and tell me if y'all agree or not. I firmly believe, well, two things. One, they're lying. That is not mountain water. I lived in Colorado. That did not taste like mountain water, but that's not the theory. The conspiracy theory is I think that water makes you thirstier. Every time I drank it, I was still so thirsty afterwards.
I don't disagree with your theory. I don't agree with it, but I don't disagree with it. The water tastes like can. It's almost like a copper taste. Like when you drink it, it has this, not that I eat pennies, but it has like a penny taste to it, which does make you want to drink more water. And I don't really want to drink that water, but that was all that was provided. So we drank it, except for that one time when Gatorade was provided. I never got one. They always like disappeared somehow.
Because they never had it. Because they never had enough for everyone. That's why you had to like rush up there to get it. I luckily got one, and I was like, I'm gonna savor this for the longest time. Get my electrolytes because they realized we weren't getting enough electrolytes, so that's why they brought the Gatorade out.
Oh, that was nice. I like gum and cough drops. So I will say my contraband was I had stuck some gum in my sports bra, and I'd be like, I would sneak it out because I was like, I need something. Because there were times, not that we didn't have access to water, it just wasn't out because of what we were doing. And I think what made me survive, one of the people I befriended, not intentionally, just happened this way, happened to have diabetes. So they were always giving her snacks. And there were some healthy snacks that she didn't want. So she always gave me her healthy snacks.
I love that. Like in the snack packs.
Yeah, the snack packs. Yep. And we only really talked about breakfast, which was like this one hard-boiled egg, a sad little oatmeal thing, a little container of some vegetables, and then lunch/dinner was almost always the same. It was chicken, sometimes quinoa, sometimes rice, and like steamed vegetables, but overly steamed vegetables. I didn't care I was going to eat them anyway, but that was really all we were given to eat, enough to survive, but not to kind of be very content and happy with in comparison how you normally eat, most likely, right? Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. And when we say like breakfast, lunch, dinner, that's not your normal time you're eating breakfast, lunch, dinner. Like we're eating breakfast at like 3, 4 p.m. We're eating lunch at like 10 p.m. and then like dinner at like 3, 4 a.m. And sometimes my body's like, what are you doing eating at 3 a.m.? Like I literally couldn't do it. But I was like forcing myself because I'm like, I'm not going to get any more food.
Yeah, it was confusing. And you ate it anyway because you didn't know the next time you were going to eat. It wasn't necessarily consistent. So that was definitely chaotic for how your body functions. You're not sleeping on the right schedule. You're not eating on the right schedule. I mean, I probably didn't even go to the bathroom that much, just because there was nothing going in me. So this episode, we really talked about kind of a little bit of how we got casted, the environment of Vegas in episode 0. And that's what we wanted you to know. But we're going to talk about the challenges on the next episode. So make sure you like, subscribe, share. And I'm going to have these same awesome people back on to talk about the challenges. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll catch you next time on The Flex with Aaliyah.